Let us not pretend anymore, my friends, because the mask is off. In a statement that may well become a diplomatic turning point, Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has publicly and unequivocally confirmed something India already knew and quietly acted on. That Turkey, that's right, Turkey supported Pakistan's military offensive against India during the recent hostilities. Not diplomatically, militarily, with weapons. Shehbaz Sharif thanks the Turkish President Erdogan personally for what he calls a Pakistani overwhelming victory. A fantasy, but that's not even the point here. The big reveal here isn't what Pakistan thinks it achieved, it's what Turkey does. It's that Turkey, a NATO member, a country with an expanding defense footprint in the global armaments bazaar, actively supported a known terror hub militarily in an attack against a sovereign democracy, the world's largest. And not just support, India has credible new signals and intelligence confirmed by ground assessments and vast amounts of failed debris, as you can see on your screen, that Turkish drones, Turkish targeting systems, and even Turkish personnel were directly in person involved in helping Pakistan wage this offensive against India. Remember, all this after Turkey fully backed Pakistan following the Pahalgam terror massacre. Now, this isn't just hostile diplomacy, this is direct kinetic complicity. That's what I'm calling it. And India isn't treating it lightly. In fact, India has already begun, as you well know, a process of punitive disengagement. Cultural and people-level ties are being frayed. Turkish companies are under review. Turkish imports face slow, silent rejection. Unofficial travel advisories have dropped. Project withdrawals and cancellation of aviation clearances are already in play. Quiet but firm, because Erdogan has chosen sides and chosen very, very poorly. By walking hand in hand with Shehbaz Sharif, he has demonstrated that he's okay to flaunt Indian blood on Turkish hands. Let's be very, very blunt tonight. Turkey under Recep Erdogan, their president, has declared itself an adversary of India. Maybe not officially yet, but operationally and tactically and militarily. Erdogan's pan-Islamist ambitions have made him the self-appointed patron of Pakistan's anti-India hostility, and it has only mounted over a month later, after Pahalgam. And that comes at a cost which India will be slowly, hopefully imposing. You cannot back a terrorist exporting state and expect normalcy from a nation that's been targeted. India isn't acting out of impulse. This isn't social media outrage I'm talking about. This isn't jingoistic flash-in-the-pan anger. This is state-level recalibration. And if you think it's going to be business as usual between India and Turkey, I'm here to tell you it is not. And what happens slowly in phases. You will see it. The red line has been drawn. Turkey's handshake with Shehbaz Sharif, twice since the Pahalgam attack, was more than symbolic. It was a declaration of alignment with India's enemy in a time of near war, a time of open military hostilities. And in this new India, if you're not a friend, you are the enemy. You have no other place in our eyes. India has taken note, and the payback will not be loud. It will be methodical. Time and place of choosing. It won't come announced, and it won't be on anyone's schedule, certainly not Mr. Erdogan's. Turkey, under their president, may have grand global plans. It may be clouded by the fantasies of outsized geopolitical heft, thanks to its geography and some convenient tectonic shifts in the post-COVID world. But Turkey must now be prepared to live with the consequences, because this time, it's not just optics, it's war. On the ground and in the ledger books, India will gently but surely remind the world that it doesn't pay at all to be an enemy of India. And joining me now for an expert view on how India sees Turkey, what actions have been taken and what actions further could possibly be taken, I'm joined by two very, very sober and erudite voices on these issues. Ambassador Kamal Sibal, former Foreign Secretary of the country and a commentator on these evolving issues. Lieutenant General Syed Atta Hasnain is a very, very respected defense commentator. He has held several senior positions in the Indian Army. He's associated with the National Disaster Management Authority now. Welcome to the both of you. Thank you very much for your time. Ambassador Sibal, I'd like to start with you first, sir. This friction with Turkey has already seen some, minor disengagements. Companies have been acted against. There is already data to suggest that I was just looking at that there have been lots of cancellations in terms of tourism from India to Turkey. India has taken cognizance of Turkish statements in the wake of Pahalgam and especially after Operation Sindoor. What do you read into this? Could there be more actions of this kind? Ambassador Sibal, to you first, sir.
Well, Turkey has been provoking us for many years now. Erdogan is the only foreign leader who mentions Kashmir in his statement at the UNGA. Now, Azerbaijan has joined Turkey in this regard. And this is despite the fact that we have protested to them and we made our displeasure known. But Turkey is impervious to such démarches, and I know this at first hand since I've been ambassador there.
Yes.
Their line is, look, we support Pakistan, but it should not be taken as being anti-Indian. We have long-standing, deep ties with Pakistan. Pakistan is the only country that has supported Turkey on northern Cyprus, on every other issue, and therefore Turkey feels obliged to support Pakistan, and we should try and understand it. I have countered that by saying subsequently to their foreign minister, whom I met in Delhi some years ago, that why do you, for example, be so active in the OIC? You took the chairmanship of the OIC group on Jammu and Kashmir, and you were responsible for some very anti-Indian statements. Nobody obliged you to take this OIC chairmanship. And within the OIC, Turkey is a very, very strong backer of Pakistan in its anti-Indian campaign and anti-Kashmir campaign. Other than that, one understands that Turkey supports Pakistan in many, many ways in terms of disseminating its propaganda worldwide.
Correct.
Against India on human rights issues and on Kashmir. So the nexus between the propaganda arms of Pakistan and the Turkish propaganda arms, including their intelligence, seems to be very close. When Erdogan visited Pakistan officially a couple of years ago, he mentioned Kashmir and talked about his brothers and sisters in Kashmir giving an Islamic orientation to the whole issue. Yeah. This is in line with his Muslim Brotherhood credentials and everything else. As against this, India has never criticized Turkey on so many issues on which they're very vulnerable. First of all, they're totally inhuman war against their own citizens in the eastern Turkey, the Kurdish people.
Yes.
Their bombing of Kurdish people in Iraq, their positioning of armed forces in northern Iraq against the will of the Iraqi government, their intervention in Syria, their occupation of northern Cyprus, which nobody recognizes in the world, except Turkey itself.
Okay.
It's a violation of maritime of UNCLOS in the Eastern Mediterranean. We've never raised these issues. We've not tried to put them on the mat.
Ambassador Sibal, I'm going to come to that part in my second round of questions, if you permit me. I'll just get that opening remark from General Hasnain on the same question. General Hasnain, as Ambassador Sibal said, there are many compulsions that are argued from the Turkish side that, these are relations that go back and Pakistan has always supported them, etc., etc. But these are not just, unfriendly acts that Turkey is indulged in. They are, literally hostile acts. There's kinetic complicity, as you have seen, General Hasnain, in terms of, drone operators helping Pakistan conduct these launches against Indian military establishments. Now, the beginnings of some kind of, retaliation, as it were, against Turkey has begun. How do you see that going? Do you think it can actually escalate?
Thank you, Shiv. Thank you for inviting me for your program. Well, I visit, unlike Mr. Kamal Sibal, who's been an ambassador there, I have visited Turkey a couple of times, even on official delegations. And it is no doubt, it was always noticeable that when it came to Pakistan, the issue of Pakistan, and it came to Kashmir, Turkey somehow always seemed to be on the other side. And it seems that this ideological kind of alignment that they have with Pakistan is primarily to score brownie points in the OIC and counter the influence of Saudi Arabia to a great extent. And today's world, the UAE and Saudi Arabia at the same time, because they are, as you are aware, contenders for overall domination of the Islamic Ummah as such. And they feel that a strong relationship with Pakistan will always get them kind of access into the northern Indian Ocean, a little bit of a footprint into Asia, something which NATO otherwise doesn't look at. But Turkey has definitely got extraterritorial kind of ambitions looking at that overall influence of this area. And it feels that Pakistan is the best nation suited for that kind of an outreach which it can do towards the east. Now, this aspect of providing military support to Pakistan, there is a tremendous amount of military to military cooperation which is going on between Pakistan and Turkey. But the aspect of having operators physically there was something which was never reported before. Now that you are reporting it, obviously we have to take cognizance of it, and this makes a huge difference.
Yes. Very true. Ambassador Sibal, my next question to you would be, what would you prescribe? I know the domain is with the government right now, the system that, is looking at all these things in an active manner. But in your expert view, what are India's options against Turkey in terms of, making them recognize that what they've done is hostile action against India, sir?
Before I answer the question, just go back a little bit. Turkey and Pakistan were members, along with Iran, of the Baghdad Pact. They were members of CENTO. And then they were members of RCD. See, the connections between the Pakistani military establishment and the Turkish military establishment is very deep. Musharraf was a great admirer of Turkey. In fact, he modeled the Pakistani National Security Council on the basis of the Turkish National Security Council, where the army has an institutional role in the council. So we must keep that in mind. It's a long-standing relationship which spans a few decades. That's one aspect of it. Secondly, with regard to Turkey's Ottoman-like ambitions, they want to be now. They want to be a leader of the Islamic world. Now that they've turned their back to Europe, because Europe has turned their back on them, where else do they go? So they try to take the leadership of the Islamic world, harking back to the Ottoman era, where the Ottoman Sultan was also the Khalifa. So Erdogan has very close ties with the Muslim Brotherhood. The Central Asian are Turkic republics. They speak the Turkish language, though in various dialects. And Turkey feels that it has a big role to play there. And hence the interest in Afghanistan. Because you remember they had the Heart of Asia conference, in which India also participated, because they wanted to extend their influence to Afghanistan, which is next to the Turkic world. And then comes Pakistan, which was a big player in Afghanistan, as you know. And therefore, this is the background in which they have been operating. With regard to their military supplies, it's a matter of deep concern, because Turkey has NATO-level defense manufacturing capabilities. It actually manufactures also the F-16s, so they can supply the spare parts to Pakistan. It has some, although they don't seem to have worked as well in the Indian environment, they have these drones, which they have sold to Turkey to Ukraine, against the protests of Russia. Now, in terms of price to pay, let me tell you something. The Turks are an extremely arrogant people. They say that, look, nobody has ever ruled us. We have ruled the Europeans. And therefore, they're not going to be too much bother if India seeks to downgrade the relationship, because their interests are in the Black Sea area, in Europe, in the Arab world, in the West Asia in general. Now in Syria, they are the main players. And they play very complicated games with Russia, with Israel.
So then my question would be.
Let me just complete my point.
Yes.
Therefore, they are extremely agile and astute in playing these kind of games. So far as our tourism is concerned, our trade is only $7.2 billion. They can live without it. So we don't have much of a price to pay either. we can also live without Turkey.
Okay.
So I don't think that either side will lose very much if the relationship is downgraded.
Then I still want to know, General Hasnain, to you then, are there any options, sir? Because, like I said, these actions don't seem ordinary. In India's biggest kinetic actions in a non-war scenario, Turkey appears to have been a direct kinetic participant. Does India have no options?
Sure. There's no doubt about it that strategic location-wise, Turkey is sitting on a prime territory.
Yeah.
The bridge between the east and the west, sitting at the Bosphorus, controlling a part of the Black Sea and things like that. Obviously, for NATO, for the United States, whatever be the relationship, it still remains a very important country. So to try and do anything in terms of trying to dilute their importance in the eyes of NATO, etc., may not really work out that well. Secondly, as far as the military aspects with the Pakistan are concerned, well, they are prime providers to Pakistan, and there's not much that we can really do in terms of preventing that kind of a thing, except to keep reporting this internationally in various conferences and various forums here and there. What we can definitely do is on the politico-strategic front is to embarrass them on these issues of the Kurdish areas, the issue of the Armenian genocide and things of this nature. These are things which needle them hugely. And what Turkey is doing to us is essentially trying to needle us. They're needling us hugely, trying to put us on a back foot diplomatically around the world in some manner or the other.
Right.
If we pay them back in that kind of coin, I think it may give you some kind of dividends. But besides that, militarily, there's not much that you can really do.
Okay, this is a very sobering assessment. So there are limited options, but there is some needling back on sensitive issues that can actually happen. The second big handshake between these two leaders in just the last few weeks, making it very, very clear, amply clear, officially clear what Turkey's role was in what has happened between the two countries. Ambassador Sibal, General Hasnain, always a pleasure. Thank you very much for adding wisdom and sense and sobriety to an issue that people are getting very, very hecked about, especially on social media.